Hello from the third national lockdown, everyone. Today, OTH Studios is returning with our first ever theatre performance, called Before the Grave. I'll play the all-new trailer for this performance right now, but be sure to stick around after or just skip to the interviews, as our complete acting cast and backstage crew will be answering some questions. So enjoy the trailer.
We are following the science.
Yes.
One of the things that this crisis has shown is that we
are the front line workers.
Hurrah!
We have been assigned to face an enemy head on. We're going over the top. Sherlock Holmes.
It feels like a different person. The doctor said,
Well,
the good news is it isn't a brain tumor.
We were written off as
Useless.
Each day I'm disappearing. A little bit more.
Your troubles in your own. So I hope you all enjoyed that sneak peek from our new production, Before the Grave. So this play was originally created for our A-level Theatre Studies Devised coursework, explores some very relevant coronavirus pandemic issues and the UK government response. So we are joined right now by 4 performers, and we will be interviewing the set and lighting designers very, very soon. So be sure to stick around. So would you like to introduce yourselves?
Hi everyone, I'm Ariel and I play care home resident and the captain.
Hi, I'm Hannah and I played a care home resident, a PPE carer, a medical advisor and a soldier.
Hi, I'm Eleanor and I play a care home resident and a care soldier.
Hi, I'm Caitlin. I play a care resident, a soldier, a medical advisor and a PPE carer.
Very good. So, to begin with Eleanor, we finished our live performance of Before the Grave about well over a month ago now. So, were you pleased with overall how it went on the big day?
I think I can say for all of us that we are all really pleased with how the performance went. It was our best run, which was like,
I agree.
After it, we were all ecstatic. We were so happy with it, really fun, and hopefully our grade comes across with how hard we worked on it, because we really did work hard as well.
Yeah, many months spent on this, but as you said, I think it couldn't have gone better on the day, and even on that final day of rehearsals, quite a lot changed for the better, I think. I'm really pleased with how it turns out, but Caitlin, did you have a standout moment, as we like to say in drama, from the final performance?
Yeah, for me, the standout moment really was when me and you were dead on the floor after the marching scene. It was a really powerful silence that overtook the stage and the audience. even as actors, I think felt the dread and the helplessness that has come about during this pandemic. For a couple of seconds, we all got to feel what the frontline workers in the NHS feel every day. And I believe that that is so important, and that we managed to convey that with such a short time frame was amazing. Really do hope it leaves the same feeling with everyone who at home who watches our performance.
Yeah, I think that was a really powerful sequence. Obviously, the march sequence with bright, stark red lighting throughout, the big PPE carers in their fat suits. So, although it was comedic in areas, I think we rarely drove home the more emotive aspects of it as well. So, I agree, that did work very well. On to Hannah. Did you find that throughout the rehearsal process, as we got more comfortable with lines, movement, and the characters, did the play slowly improve or even change a significant amount very quickly?
The play originally started with my idea, but it was just the struggles of a dementia patient. Obviously, we had all our own ideas and stuff, so our play started to incorporate the things where, say, the Boris scenes, that wasn't in the original idea, but I feel it really helped make the piece, because current day event, the struggles of care homes in lockdown, quite intriguing for the audience and even relatable to some people. I feel it did improve a better in the storyline.
Yeah, there's a lot of different elements to it. As you said, it was you who came up with the original Alzheimer's dementia plot line, and it's kind of a mixture of us who kind of thought about the governmental response to that. And I think both of those elements really entwined really well to have quite a fresh experience, which I think worked beautifully. As we just mentioned, there were lots of different story ideas drifting around. But Ariel, do you think there was one single element that made this play really work, like the coronavirus era setting, the government presence, or maybe something else entirely?
Yeah, for me, I think the scene within the piece that really made it a success was when we were all playing the care home residents and just staring out into the audience, doing our own little monologues. Right from the start of the devising process, we had that really macabre image in our brains. And I think we were able to stick with that and then expand it across the rehearsal process. It was something really challenging to explore as an actor, something totally new. And I think that it looked really effective in the final performance.
Yeah, I mean, originally that sequence you mentioned, which was still a solid getting on for 10 minutes, but originally that was probably around 20 minutes by itself, just these monologues. And although they were very powerful, I think cutting them down to more clearly portray each character was a good decision. So I think that did work really well, especially with the spotlight on every character. So if the audience gives the play the attention I think it deserves, they'll rarely find that scene very interesting. And I hate to be the pessimist, but in a similar way, was there any movement or anything in the final performance that could have been improved even just very slightly?
Yeah, I mean, I was really happy with the performance as a whole, but one thing that I would have liked to develop if we'd have had more time was the narrative between Angela and Mike. So we had these really great characters, and we had that one really emotional scene in the middle where they've got the screen in between them, and just watching that scene back when we watched the performance really affected me emotionally, and I thought it would have been really great to expand that narrative out and really explore how their relationship changed because of the pandemic.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that actually, because on the final day of performance, obviously we cut down the third meeting between those two characters, which was the right decision, but as you said, that kind of limited the development for them, so I think that could have been expanded upon. Thank you, group. And we will now be moving on to interviews with the lighting designer and set designer. Moving on to the lighting and set designers from the Before the Grave production, it is Jake Newlove and Katie Mandis.
Hi, so I'm Katie and I designed the set for the show.
Hi, I'm Jake and I did lighting.
Now, I must say, when I was on the stage, I was absolutely blown away. I was very impressed by what you both did for Before the Grave. To begin with, Katie, my group kind of asked you, we gave you a brief for a very dilapidated, rundown care home setting, which was where the majority of the production was set. And I think you really delivered on that. You know, you had some really kind of mismatched armchairs and actually 6 different nurse outfits.
Yeah.
So how did you go about designing the set initially?
So the first thing after speaking to you guys, I did research. I think that was really important. It was quite a real set because it wasn't just like, you know, when some sets are quite made up and quite fantasy and things like that. It was a care home, and a care home is a real setting and a real life place. So research was really important, and I did just research old care homes and chairs and carpets, and the communicating with you guys as well. You guys told me what you guys wanted, and then I went away and designed it, did a few diagrams, and then showed you guys, which I think was quite good.
The set really is grounded in reality.
Yeah, it was to show if someone looks at it, you show that it's in a care home.
To go back to the mismatched wheelchairs and armchairs, some very strange items, and the nurse outfits, even the really 80s looking acid green carpet. So where did you go about getting these really strange items from?
So it was quite a challenge, actually. The furniture, I have to say the armchairs were a real challenge. So it was just a case of communicating with everybody. So kind of like, I went to everybody, kind of my whole kind of like backstage team, and was like, are you throwing out any furniture? Are you selling anything? And everything like that. And looking at like Facebook Marketplace, we got 2 of our chairs from there, actually.
I didn't actually know that.
So
everywhere then, really.
Yeah. And then obviously we communicated with you guys, so we did struggle with the nurses' outfits.
Yeah, we helped you a bit there.
Yeah, you did. But yeah, and then obviously Jake works in a theatre in real life where he lives, and he has a prop store, so he helps with a wheelchair and Zimmer frame. So it was all just communicating and helping with other people, and so that managed to work really well, yeah.
Yeah, I think you did a very good job all around, but what element of the production would you say you are most personally proud of?
The frames. I think the frames
the frames above?
Yeah.
The picture frames, yeah.
Yeah, the picture frames, yeah. That was a real challenge because it was getting it. I didn't really know how it was going to look before we even started like putting them up in the theatre, because it was really difficult to work out height and like the lengths of them and things like that. And it was just a case of I was standing there was 2 people up in the genie putting them up, and it was just a case of me going, yeah, that's fine, and just seeing what it was like. But I am proud of that because it did look, I think the frames kind of finished off the whole set, and I think that was a really important thing. And I thought if the frames weren't there, I feel like it would have still been a good set, but I think it just showed it was a care home.
Well, very well. I mean, you actually had quite a lot of resources at your disposal. I think you mentioned the cherry picker, massive kind of construction machine, and you're just kind of driving that around everywhere and having the massive ladder, and it's a very big theatre we have, so
it is. Yeah,
enabled you to really do some great things. And thinking more long term, in the future, would you ever consider pursuing a career in set design long term?
I'm still unsure. I mean, this was the first set that I ever designed, actually, and I did enjoy it, but I'm still looking at different areas within kind of backstage at the moment. But I'm not ruling it out, and it's still a possibility because I did enjoy it.
I'm sure you got plenty of time to make your mind up.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
No rush there. Thank you for that. We are going to move on to lighting design by Jake Newlove now. I was very impressed indeed with the variety of lighting you could use. I mean, we had some nice stark white uplit cover throughout, and in the march sequence we had some really nice red rays and a triangle of kind of yellow in the wedding, I noticed. So similar to Katie, how did you go about designing the lighting design, Jake?
So in a similar way to Katie, I did research looking at pictures of care homes and all the different settings that you'd use during the show, thinking about how it should maybe be as true to life as possible, realistic, not like fantasy. But then I also thought about some of the moments that were not realistic, like the march sequence, where I could use more saturated colours and effects to get the point across.
Yeah, there's a very nice red in that one, I thought, and they kind of, the rays were individual, and I thought that was very nicely done. You really perfectly linked the lighting design to the mood of that scene, like we just mentioned in the march sequence. So how did you go about identifying the correct mood for a scene and then translating that into the lighting design? Or did you immediately identify from a scene exactly what it is going to be?
By looking at the pictures, I could kind of see what particular scenes should be lit like, whether they should be warm, cold. So like the wedding scene looked a bit more joyous than, for example, the care home scene.
I've seen some of the backstage computers and equipment you guys use while us actors are just shouting at each other. So I think you have a very hard job, really, and it looks very complicated with whole rows of dials and switches. I have no idea what it does. How do you know exactly what you're doing on these computers? And it must be quite difficult and time consuming to link up the on-stage cue with the exact lighting design, or do you do it manually on the day? I know there's a tech rehearsal, but what exactly is that process?
Basically learned from a lot of YouTube and training videos and courses, and then learned a few bits in college, done bits out of college. Just takes a lot of practice, I think. Once you have the tech rehearsal and you've set the lighting, during the performance all the cues were played back in order by pressing just a single button. So it might look, there's loads of complicated switches and dials and all that, but during the actual performance it's all programmed to such an extent that you can just hit one button to move your way through the cue list in order, if that makes sense.
So you actually lock everything in during the tech rehearsal. When it's actually on, it's just kind of playing through all the different scenarios.
When particular cues should happen in terms of sound and lighting, the DSM or Deputy Stage Manager calls that during the rehearsals and shows so that everyone's in perfect sync and it all happens when it should do.
Yeah, well, I think it went pretty perfectly on the day. I mean, I did notice on one occasion, I don't think anybody noticed it but me because I was spending hours editing it, obviously, but a kind of projection came in at some point and then went away again. That's the only thing I noticed, but I don't think anybody else would care. And out of your many successes on the Before the Grave production, what was your personal favourite achievement, Jake?
I think the thing I'm most proud of is the opening scene where I had about 31 different lighting changes.
Yeah.
A lot of them were very subtle changes, but I think I managed to get through them and program it all in a fairly good time.
As our tutor said, I remember now, he said some productions they do at the theatre have around 31 cues in the entire production, so for us to have 31 in the opening scene, even though it is a very large opening scene, it's probably quite difficult. But I think that worked very well. I mean, as we were going through the opening monologues in the care home, we had very effective spotlighting of every single character, so I think that worked really well. In a similar way to Katie, do you hope for a career in the world of theatre lighting?
Yeah, I would like to work full-time in the technical theatre industry after I leave college. Still unsure whether I want to progress into uni.
Any experience is good experience. Best of luck.